In Buddhism, they say that desire is the root of all suffering. This had me pondering for literally a year before I could make any sense of this, because it just didn't quite sit right with me. How could even good desires be the root of all suffering? That is what we are going to talk about today. Zig Ziglar famously said you can have everything in life you want if you will just help other people get what they want. A lot of wants in this sentence. I think Zig Ziglar is a pretty cool guy. I think most motivational speakers, Tony Robbins, Benjamin Hardy, most life coaches, they talk a lot about pursuing your dreams, moving forward with what you want, and so forth. And this isn't necessarily bad, right? Then we also know that anticipation of an event is always more intense than the event itself. For example, Christmas. So wanting something, working towards something we want, like my son getting his Talaria. He worked a year so he could buy himself a electric bike, the Talaria. And once he got the bike, he was actually a little bit surprised. He was excited, but he thought he would be more excited. And it was more exciting almost to be moving towards that bike. I only need $100 left, and just all that excitement, we're moving up towards actually touching that bike and riding it for the first time. I always felt a little bit let down every year at Christmas because the anticipation of Christmas was so much more exciting than actually opening the presents and then going, oh, it's over. Even though you have all these cool gifts, there's just something about the anticipation, which is interesting. And I see that in good ways, but also in some negative ways, where some people are constantly looking for that next thing to get that next high, the next new iPhone, trading in their car for a different one, or I'll be happy when I get the dream job. This one isn't quite what I want. It's okay. They're just never quite happy. And I believe Benjamin Hardy said this, but he said that needing something is unhealthy and makes you a slave. So think about that. Needing it. I need a relationship, or I need a sugar fix. I need my Pepsi.
Well, you didn't introduce me this time.
Hi, Mike.
I'm just magically talking here. I just appeared.
Yes.
Yeah, desire, it can be shaped and formed and used, but I think it's got to first come from a different place. Like, where do we form the desire? What gives us the fuel? But at least for me, the thing that can shape your desire is gratitude. Appreciating the things that you have right here, right now. You can start with the smallest things. I am grateful for this pencil. I'm grateful for my car, if you have one, or a bike.
Or even, I'm grateful
My
that
shoes.
my car turned on today.
Yeah. I'm grateful for my jacket. I'm grateful for my clothes. Because if you're grateful for what you have now, and you can appreciate the things that you do have, you're not going to be in a state of need where you're desiring things that aren't truly going to serve you. That's an endless pit. I mean, you could have all the money in the world.
How many people do we hear of that they're billionaires or millionaires or whatever, but they're still trying to get richer? Not that being a billionaire or millionaire is a bad thing. I just think it can get consuming, where it's almost like this game of beating everybody else or staying at the top. I've never been there, so I don't really know. Again, needing something is unhealthy and makes you a slave, but wanting something can be a powerful motivator and can make you free to choose. So needing something, it's almost like addiction. Like, it'll cause you to impulsively make choices that maybe aren't the best. Whereas wanting something good, can lead you to some choices that could make you better than you are right now. Like wanting to overcome depression, for example. That desire, that can be absolutely powerful. Wanting, number one here, is intrinsically motivated, whereas needing is extrinsically motivated. Number two, and these are all notes I got from Benjamin Hardy, wanting is based on choosing freedom, whereas needing is based on seeking security. So those with a lack mindset, making choices based on fear.
You mentioned the choice. Are we in a place of pain? Are we in a place of hate, vitriol, pent-up emotion?
Do we feel left out? If I don't buy these clothes, or if I don't get this program, or if I don't have this phone, people will think ABC. Or if I don't make enough to get a better car, people will make fun of me.
Anger.
Yeah.
You can be motivated by anger. but the fruit that you attain through that motivation is going to be somewhat empty, and it's going to leave you chasing for more fruit. It kind of breeds that way. But when you step back into a place of gratitude,
things come to you.
exactly.
It's this abundant mindset where you almost expect the blessings and they just come. And I feel like that's still something I'm working on. That I feel like I struggle sometimes with this scarcity, this fear mindset of, what if I had all this money? Would it change me? Thoughts like that. Or I can just make enough to get by and that's it. And it always works out. Our minds are powerful. If we can accept what the Lord wants for us, it is very abundant. I think He wants us to have abundance. If we're feeling that need, I think it pushes it away. At least it's almost like it could be more like dirty money versus wanting it for the right purposes to bring joy to your family, service to others, consecrating everything that we make to God, which is what I'm going to get more into with the desires, the root of all suffering, and kind of how that all wraps in together.
Sure. Where's that desire coming from? And that's why I mean,
well, all fear comes from darkness.
Yeah, but you pull back to gratitude, and it's a place of light, and it's a space,
expansion.
Rather than those desires that you are chasing, you stop chasing them. And then you have appreciation for everything that's around you. And like you said, the things that you need, God is aware.
We don't need to be worried about what we need because He'll give it to us automatically.
Those things, I was talking to my atheist friend about this. And when I'm talking to him about some of these things, if I mention God, it just kind of glazes over at that point. He just like tunes out, and it's like falling on deaf ears. But when I use things like gratitude,
it feels very open. It's just openness. Like yes and thank you.
But it's made possible by the atonement. That's what gives it so much power.
They've literally been able to scientifically prove that just a person sitting in a room in a state of gratitude can neutralize negative emotions from miles around, like literally, because the negative emotions, while they have their own frequency, are not very powerful ones. It doesn't take much of one to have an impact, but gratitude and love can just oust them, like easily, so fast. Again, pushing away all that is not needful in your life, the things you don't really need or want that maybe you think you do, just through gratitude alone and love of God and neighbor and self. You put those two together, you're unstoppable. You can have everything you've ever needed or wanted without trying so hard. So 3 is wanting comes from having an abundance mindset, whereas needing comes from having a scarcity mindset. 4 is wanting is creative. And we are creators. We are God's an embryo, right? Whereas needing is reactive. That is so true. So when you think of depression and anxiety, it's a very reactive mindset. You're constantly looking for anything to help you feel better. That's how I was. I couldn't rest, couldn't get a break. And wanting allows that mind to quiet enough to where you can think in terms of progress and innovation, and it's productive.
You can organize the steps to get to where you need to go.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic that slowing down could get you to someplace faster?
That's my world.
Slow and steady wins the race. That's Mike. But you're good at it. So I'm the running around with the chicken's head cut off sometimes person, but I do get a lot done. Not always the needful things, but I have to mention, there are people, manifestors, human design. I have a son who's one of them. 8%. It's not a lot. These are the people that your life coaches are, for the most part, talking to. The go get it, make it happen. That works for them. For the rest of us, it works usually better to wait to respond to stimulus coming at you. So you're not trying to make it happen. You have the thought, you know kind of what you're going for, and then when it comes, you recognize it when it shows up.
Well, and some people are playing defense quite a bit. The world's throwing everything in the kitchen sink at you. And how do you go from survival mode? How do you flip that?
I say breath and prayer. Breathe. Take a slow, deep breath. Pray throughout the day. Pray always. It doesn't just say pray always because it means pray sometimes, or just have a prayer kind of in your heart. I think it means what it says it means. Pray all the time. Pray all the time. Talk to God on a regular basis. Keep connected, because as soon as you disconnect,
I like that.
it's chaos. I mean, at least for me. I'm feeling disconnected. I'm distracted. I'm running everywhere, not getting a lot done. I'm not balanced at all. And even though I'm running around, I'm getting a lot less done than I would on a day when I'm connected and moving more gracefully, if you will, through my day. For example, I was driving my kids to school one day and realized that I was running out of gas. I felt really stupid. And we were in the neighborhood still, but we were far enough from my house that I couldn't just run home and get a gas can. The Spirit told me that house. But I ignored the Spirit because that house had no lawn, and I thought surely they won't have a lawnmower, which means they probably won't have a gas can. I tried several other houses, no one was home, and finally knocked on the door that I'd felt inspired to knock on first, and they were home. They offered me gas. I filled it up and we went on our way, and it didn't take me longer than 10 minutes to recover from that. Even though it was like, dang it, I can't believe I ran out of gas. It could have been a lot worse if no one had been home.
Right.
My day went pretty smooth despite that. Whereas I think if I'd been more discombobulated, I may have gone down a different road where nobody was home, and I would have been calling to myself, anybody can bring me some gas. It could have taken me an hour or 2 or 3.
Well, it's a panic. Mostly make the wrong choices in a panic.
And we end up in the right place when we're calm.
It takes intentional training, focus, meditation to overcome moments of panic with controlled responses. Sometimes it's muscle memory, and you just start doing the right moves based on practice. You don't want to pilot, your engine's on fire. You don't want them to panic, right? You want them cool as a cucumber all the way to the ground. Because
you make better choices when your brain isn't going through fight or flight, for sure. Which
Exactly.
A lot of us are. When you're running like a chicken with its head cut off, fight or flight. Your brain is not functioning on all 4 cylinders, and I can attest to that on those days. You slow it down intentionally, and things start just going better. Find that grateful place.
Well, it's like the Matrix. If you ever watched that, you see the bullets flying at you, you slow them down, and then you can move around them.
I like that analogy. Speaking of that, people don't often get what they want because they're too busy seeking for what they believe they need, like this frantic, right? Or what society says they should have. There are 2 core types of freedom. Freedom from, which is externally escaping what you don't want, or freedom to, which is internally committing to and courageously choosing what you do want. I'm going to say a few things about the life I wanted. I wanted to own my home. I wanted to have children and be home with them. I wanted to find resources that would allow me to work from home. I wanted to do this podcast. I wanted to be married to Mike. I wanted land so I could have goats on it. I have all of these things. I wanted a sauna. I got that too. I'm not rich. I'm not rich. But all of these things that I desired have come to me in miraculous ways. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. I also wanted to be a person of integrity. Like in all that I do, that's always been kind of at the forefront of my being. That's how I operate. Every choice I make, is this right? It's something I desire very much, is to be close to God.
That takes practice.
It does. It doesn't come always naturally, for sure. And sometimes when I stray, I have to get back to that. Remember, oh yeah, that is what I want. Yeah, that's right. I do want to follow God. And the thing is that He always wants what I want. Literally. If I think I want something and it's not what God wants for me, it's not going to be good. I'm not going to be happy when I get there. That has been the case every single time. Whether it was a guy, I really want this relationship with this guy, and he'd end up being terrible for me, and I just wouldn't listen until I found out the hard way.
Yeah, I've been in some pretty dark places, and it's so interesting when I look back. God was there, and I didn't have a clue. And I had no idea, but He was there. I can look back on it now and see that, but at the time, completely blind to His presence.
Do you think we do that because we feel shameful or guilty or like we don't deserve it? Or that I think a part of me thought that if
Shame's a big part.
If He won't heal my depression, I doubted my ability, my faith, my worthiness. It must not be enough. Or maybe this is just me being punished for some reason. Am I doing something wrong? Or is this just part of the endure to the end thing?
What are we desiring?
What are we desiring? Yeah. Are my desires going for the wrong things? And they were, quite frankly. The things I wanted when I was depressed were not conducive to happiness. They weren't. And my desires changed a lot when I started to heal, which is interesting because I became a completely different person throughout that healing, but I couldn't see that at the time I was depressed. I
Isn't
couldn't
it
understand.
interesting? Desire kind of goes out the window when Jesus is at the helm. He's leading you, quite literally, and he lends you his eyes for a moment. The only thing that matters in that moment is your relationship with him and how much love that you feel. That gives you hope. And I think hope is a substitute for desire.
What was Christ's desire? It was to save us. That's what he wanted. And I listened to something today about Easter and the Atonement, and he mentioned, I never thought of this before, the fact that he not only felt the pains, all of our pains and sorrows, but that he descended below them. Like as if that wasn't bad enough. Descended below, like went to the depths of everything that we've ever experienced or felt. I never really quite saw that for what it was. That he wanted so badly to give us that opportunity to heal. That's what he wanted. That was his whole driving motive on this earth, was to serve his Father and to serve us. And I'm sure he was human. He experienced those temptations, but that was what his core drivers were. His value system, I would say, determined his choices.
It's a righteous desire, is what it is.
So I'm just going to read this. The Four Noble Truths, Desire is the Root of All Suffering, on I'mAquarius.com. I did write this. It's probably the best article I've ever written. The Four Noble Truths, which are the foundation of Buddhism, stress that desire is the root of all suffering. I love Buddhist writings because they're like riddles and challenge the way I think. For example, I've spent the past few years contemplating the words desire is the root of all suffering. And when I say that, I mean I spent a few years contemplating desire is the root of all suffering. I didn't get it. I generally pride myself in my ability to reason, but the notion of all desire causing suffering had me confuddled. When I first heard the words, they felt mostly true. But I still wondered, is desire equals suffering always true or mostly true, or what am I missing here? What about righteous desires? Righteous desires don't necessarily cause suffering, or do they? This week, I was again pondering on whether desire is the root of all suffering when I had one of those epic eureka moments. Yes, desire is the root of all suffering, I realized. Yet all through primary growing up, I was taught that we don't have to suffer if we repent. So how does that even work? And repent of what? The answer: our suffering or need to repent comes from putting our own will, even our righteous desires, above God's will. Alternatively, life becomes instantly easier once we let God carry all that willpower for us. Once we understand from a Christian perspective, or otherwise, if you're not Christian, how the Four Noble Truths work, it is easy to understand why desire is the root of all suffering. In actuality, it makes absolute and complete sense. Pain is part of life, but there is a difference between pain and suffering, and that difference is a big difference. As Christians, many of us were taught that when our will or desire is God's will, our will is swallowed up, literally swallowed up in His. In other words, we no longer have one. Our will is gone. God's will be done. But doesn't that mean we give up on ourselves, what we want, and who we are? Nope. Quite the contrary. When we choose to turn our desires and suffering over to God, which is what the Christian atonement is all about, our carnal desires essentially become nullified, and only God's desire remains. We choose through our agency to stop resisting God's plan for us, again, through that open gratitude, letting things in, right? His plan is our best life. Suffering diminishes because there is no expectation, only perfect trust. There is no anxiety or stress, only perfect love. And we no longer worry because we know that God is perfect. God's plan for us is perfect, and He desires what is best for us. In other words, He's got this, and He's got us. When God's will is the only thing that matters to us, it creates perfect hope. In scriptural terms, perfect hope leaves no room for worry or expectation, which is what Mike just mentioned. Rather, having perfect hope is to know. Committing ourselves to God's will also creates perfect peace, which will naturally result, eventually, in creating a perfectly balanced, harmonious soul. This process in which we let go of our own will, or lose ourselves in service to God, is, ironically, how we find ourselves. Luke 9:24-25 says, "For whosoever will save his life shall lose it. But whosoever will lose his life for my sake, the same shall save it. For what is a man advantaged if he gain the whole world and lose himself?" In essence, surrendering our own desire to God's is the exact opposite of giving up our identity, because we are choosing to trust the Master Creator, who knows exactly who we are. Through his personalized refining process for us, all impurities, false identities, and callousness fall away. The result? A magnificent, glorious, angelic being rivaling our past selves in startling contrast. In layman's terms, we will have become the best version of ourselves. In our present imperfect condition, only God knows entirely what that is and what exactly that will take. In summary, I now believe without a doubt that desire is the root of all suffering. So, when I find myself feeling out of balance, stressed, or not myself, I seek to align myself as best as I can to God's will again. This often begins with resolute and determined prayer, a moment of decision, a willingness to see the truth, whatever that may be, and committing to do whatever God tells me to do. In this holy space, true freedom from suffering can be found. And then this is by Benjamin Hardy too. In a single moment, a person can choose to change everything. Change doesn't have to take a long time. It happens the instant we decide.
Very well put.
Buddhist negative minds were really interesting. I studied these a little bit as I was trying to understand. Number one is desire is hungry and never fulfilled. It is never happy. It causes insatiably wanting more and more. It is subtle and seductive. We don't even know what is happening. It's like oil on a cloth, very difficult to remove. And of course, this is being translated from another language. It is one of the 6 delusions, and when it affects us, then the other 5 are readily there close behind to affect us too. So desire is kind of at the root of all the other problems, is what they're saying. We have imprints from many experiences, including past lives. And then 3 is pride, 4 is ignorance, 5 is doubt, and 6 is wrong views. Believing in lies, I would say, is what that means.
Right. Well, every desire as a whole that you're chasing, everything falls under your will. But when you back up to God's will, that's the only righteous desire you can attain. That's the only real direction, because at that point,
Well, there's lots of directions, and I think there's good, better, and best.
you can make things really difficult for yourself and do things the hard way, or do it the slow, steady, easy way. You step back and you look at it.
Tortoise in the hare.
Yeah. You do it right and you do it once.
Oh, we talked about that in number 23, I think, or 24. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
I talk about that.
It's a simple approach, and usually it's the simple things that carry the most truth.
Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. Basic, simple. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The wheel is a simple thing.
I think that was so hard for me, though. Growing up, I wanted answers. The simple things I was learning at church weren't fixing it. There's things that we have to understand on a deeper healing level, or putting a simple thing in a box. There's a lot of things we don't understand because we're oversimplifying it, and then we're closed off to any other alternative or interpretation whatsoever. When we think we know something, oversimplification can be just as bad as overcomplicating things.
You can get trapped in your own thought and get paralyzed for sure, and not move and not take action. Part of God's will is faith. The only way we can access his will is through faith. And faith is an action word. If you get caught in the thinking phase and not the action part, then you're going to fall a little short.
Faith is also a state of being, because I think sometimes the answer is to just wait. Like, don't do anything. And again, requires a decision. I'm going to have the discipline to not go and do all these things that I feel like I need to do or have to do. Or
making the decision and then doing that, whatever that is.
Even if it's sitting for a while.
Yeah, if it is sitting.
Even that in of itself is an action. It's not just sitting for the sake of sitting. You feel like this is what I need to be doing right now.
Yeah, sometimes that might be the hardest thing to do.
Oh, for me? Yeah. I like to take action and fix things. When I'm told to wait, that's a challenge.
I can see that.
You're like, I don't know. Like I no longer struggle with depression, but I still struggle to find complete balance and peace all of the time. So, work in progress again.
Is that a crumb on the floor?
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, no. Is that a dish in the sink?
Is that God's will? I read a book written by a Buddhist monk The specifically said leaving a dish in the kitchen sink would be detrimental to your sleep because you'd be thinking about that dish in the sink all night. And that's kind of how it works for me. I'm not good at just putting it out of my mind.
I go to bed and I sleep so good.
Until your wife starts cleaning the dish that you left in the sink at midnight.
But when I wake up the next morning, guess what happens? I'm like, oh, the dish is in the sink from last night. I guess I'll clean it. No sleep lost.
Good for you. What a talent. I don't think it's necessarily bad to desire things, but when our desires are in alignment with God, we know. You feel that light, that yes, and you're doing exactly what you need to be doing. And there's a difference, again, between excitement of, I'm excited about this, frantic, versus that peace that accompanies the right thing. I don't know how to describe it other than, for me, it's just this entire body feeling and just knowing that it is. It just is. And it's God's will speaking to me that, yes, this is exactly what I want for you. I am excited for you. And don't forget what you felt, because sometimes Satan likes to make you question what you felt when you knew, to derail you or make you go somewhere else. Oh, maybe that wasn't the thing. Maybe I was confused.
Maybe
maybe I'm just being stupid.
Too much desire in there. You got to pull out your own desire and see. But honestly, in a place of peace, when you receive an answer, it's that still small voice. And it can be identified because there's only one voice out there that speaks to you that way. That voice is very specific. The adversary tries, but he can't get to that frequency.
No, I can't. And I want to say to those who struggle with depression, it's pretty dang hard when you're in it to feel that peace. But one step at a time, trust that as you heal and as you follow this program, you get the workbook, you start working through the stuff.
Start with little things, but guaranteed when you feel that, when you feel it, and you make a decision, you move, it'll be right. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, obstacles are not.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. It just means it's right.
And it'll be worth it. Because I can tell you, the experiences I had working through and healing all of the years of depression I felt, and then every bit of progress I made was wrought with struggle at the beginning. It was just resistance, resistance, resistance. I didn't want to do it, but I made myself do it, and it was worth it. When I got that confirmation, I remember crying when I realized I was going to need to do a cleanse, just sobbing. I don't want to do it. But I got that confirmation that this is what you need to do, and it's going to be okay. It was not easy, and I'm not saying that anyone listening needs to do a cleanse necessarily. That might not be your thing at the moment. Slow and steady is often a good way to go. Mine was crash and burn style.
It's never easy to look at the ugly within.
Yeah, and just remember that the ugly, it's just stuff that got put on top of you. You start uncovering it, and there's nothing but light underneath. I promise. No matter how dark you feel, no matter what you've done, you are absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. You just got some things to uncover, and it's okay. It's part of the journey. That's part of the life experience. It's part of the plan.
Amen.
So don't lose hope. Don't get discouraged. I've been there. Mike's been there. Many people have been there. Desire is the root of all suffering. Kinda. Unless you align your will to the light. And we'll leave you with that until next time.
We'll see you later.
If you are new to this podcast, please go watch all of the hashtag introduction videos first, and then consider downloading the Overcome Depression workbook. Links in the description. The content in this podcast is based on my own personal beliefs, is for informational purposes only, and is not intended to substitute for medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Please refer to the full legal disclaimer in the description.